you're in Mustang, you go down to Houston, back up to Ponca, and then you get to the district.
Right.
And so what's the one thing you miss, or what's the one thing you're going to take away from this whole experience?
Probably maybe two things.
Okay.
One thing is that God orchestrates everything. I don't always like it, but he does, you know. And the second is that you never know where someone else is coming from. Like, you don't know where they are in their life.
Yeah.
And so to go easy, sometimes I don't go easy on people, but like to try to go easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's it like being married to Doug?
Huh?
What's it like being married to Doug?
Exhausting. No, it's fantastic.
So when was this moment? Because, I mean, I've heard the story 1,000 times, a million times from him of when he fell in love with you. But I feel like it takes, because it's so exhausting, I feel like it would take a little while longer for someone to fall in love with him. So I want to know this moment in which he just like had this glow about him. Or was there ever that moment? And you're just like, no, he seems like a cool guy, so I figured we'd live the next 50 years together.
No, I don't know that I necessarily had, and we've talked about this extensively. I don't know that I ever had a moment where I just knew, like, this is it, he's the one. You know, I can't live my life, like, he's got to be in my life, blah, blah, blah. I think it was the moment I realized that I didn't want to do life without him.
Aww.
Yeah, so, and I'm not totally sure when that was.
I was waiting for it.
It was last year. No, not really.
It's definitely now not that he's lost his beard.
I know.
Which, what was that like?
He didn't even talk to me about it.
Yeah, this seems like a huge thing.
It is a huge thing, because you know I love the beard.
Yes.
Yeah. He came home, he and Seth went and got their haircuts. Seth came home first.
Yeah.
And he said, hey, Dad is shaving his beard. I thought he was lying. I was like, shut up. And he's like, no. And Seth's not a very good liar.
Right.
And so I was like, he looks like he's telling the truth, but I don't want to believe it. And sure enough, he came home, no beard.
And so now he's sleeping on the couch until the beard is back? That's what Seth told me. No, I'm lying.
Oh, is it? Okay. No. You know, I think he looked in the mirror and thought, oh my gosh, I need my beard back. So I think he wants to grow it back, so I'm excited about that.
That's what I've noticed is like the 5 o'clock shadow is still there.
Yes.
So I think he immediately regretted the decision.
Yes, I
I
agree.
think he was very impulsive.
Yeah.
I don't know what he was thinking.
Yeah.
But Joe, how long were you guys like in youth ministry, like as youth pastors?
We did our first youth pastorate in Houston, and we moved there in 1996.
Okay.
So
y'all were in it 12 years, 11, 12 years, right?
Huh?
Maybe in
Where?
youth ministry?
before we came here?
Yeah, from 96 till the district would be 12 years?
Something like that.
Okay. What do you miss about it? Like the local church, like just being with kids all the time. What do you miss?
I definitely miss that. I miss being with the kids, and like the interns are one of my favorite parts about this job, because it's like for a month you get your own youth group, kind of, you know?
Yeah.
I really miss that. And it's weird because, you know, you're at all these events and all these things, but it can be really lonely just being in this job, because you're not with people day to day, and you're not with the same people day to day.
Right.
And so, you know, I definitely miss that aspect about the local church.
I'll say this, like I was totally spoiled when I worked with you guys, and I remember how true that was. Everybody said, oh, Doug and Jill, they're so relational and they're awesome and we love them. And you start working with them thinking, okay, that's all a facade. They can put that on during events of how relational they are. But honestly, it's very, very true. And I want to tell you, it has not gone unappreciated that you don't find Jill Everaard everywhere you go. that will listen to you rant and rave and about nonsense primarily, but at the same time, how intentional you are in their lives. I think we could ask any intern that's here in the building right now. They all have a Jill story, and I'm gonna share this Jill story right now. It was my first year at camp, and I was an emotional basket case. And I was ranting and raving about something. It probably would have been like week 3. Yeah, it probably would have been like week 3. And we're talking in the office.
This is a horrible story.
It's not. It's a great story. Like, it defined who I am today. Like this story right here. And I'm ranting and I'm raving, which was not like a big shocker given the time of day. And I remember you're just sitting, looking at me, and you tell me, could you just not be so self-absorbed? Because maybe there are other people in your life that are going through things, and you need to be able to listen to them. And I remember at that point in time, like, it's way too late. Like, the bus has already left the station, and there's no recovering, even though you're like, oh, yeah, let's talk. And you're like, no, it's done. It's not going to happen. So I wanted to tell you, like, based off that trajectory, what you guys have invested into my life, those 3 years, were probably some of the best 3 years of my life, is just watching you and learning from you and help developing me as to not be such an awful person all the time. But even along the way, there were a lot of mistakes. And I think you guys are the most influential people in other leaders' lives, because I think you're so vulnerable. And I think the type of leadership is not like, we got to be on stage, we have to have a microphone. And so when I was just talking with Pastor Adam, we were talking about ministry and life and insecurities. So I want to ask you this. What is ministry?
That is a great question, Cody.
It is.
And just a side note to that, that is not an original question from you.
No, it's not. It's not.
No, that was a question from me to you that you still have not answered.
Yes.
So
I plead the fifth, so now I get to turn it back to you.
Oh, gosh, that's so sweet.
Right?
What is ministry? I think ministry is, like you said, vulnerability and being real. And I think it's loving people enough to invest in them, and just walking with people and trying to be, you know, the best version of yourself, I guess. But yeah, I have a lot of things that happen in my life that help keep me really humble. I'm usually doing something really stupid.
No, but so it's been a while, but you guys have matured, you've been experienced in life and in ministry. What's one thing you wish you could tell 23-year-old youth pastor Jill that, hey, these next 20 years, I'm going to try to help you out, but look out for this, be prepared for this, but this is the reward, this is the one thing that you can walk away with? What would that conversation look like with your younger Jill self?
It would probably be like a 2-part answer, because I think first I would say it's not about you. It's not about me. It's not not to fear the thought that somebody might be better at something than me.
Yeah.
And always have to secure my place, because in doing that, I don't let anybody else have a place.
Yeah.
The second thing that I would say is, you're not Jesus, so you're not, like, you're not the police, you know? It's not my responsibility to make sure everybody's living right.
Yeah.
It's my responsibility to influence people and to point to Jesus and to walk with them and to love them when they mess up. But it's not my responsibility to be Jesus to them, because that's exhausting and it can never happen.
Well, I think that's huge. Is like, so for my last question, and you're probably going to hate me for asking this, but there is this, it's a total misconception that is projected onto you and you're stereotyped, that it's like you're the pastor's wife. It's a two-for position. And I know, like, now I know that is not the case at all. But like, what for someone that's struggling in that identity crisis of they don't want me for my giftings or my abilities or what I bring to the table, they want those things as long as they get the big man or as long as they get the real pastor, whatever that looks like. So what would you be telling a pastor's wife or a youth pastor that may be struggling with finding that identity or struggling with just identity in general? How would you encourage her?
I definitely would say that, everyone is called to ministry, whether that's your full-time job, you get paid for it, you're a mom and you are ministering in your home, because through very difficult experiences, I learned the hard way that my kids are my greatest disciples, as Doug has said before. But I think you just have to figure out who you are, and you've got to be able to work through the insecurities of who you think you should be. Because you're never going to measure up to the person that you wish you were, and just to find your place. I hate the phrase twofer because it's so discounting. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, throw me in. I'm so excited. But I do think that, in that you just have to be aware of what God is calling you specifically to do. And I think it's different for wives because every youth pastor that's in youth ministry, basically they're all jobs. Their jobs look kind of the same. They preach and they reach students and they go to schools and they go on trips and all that. The wives' jobs, though, are all different because you have wives that are super involved and then you have wives that are super involved with their own children. So it's very it's hard to say exactly what you should be doing. So in a way it's good, because you can kind of create your own place, but in a way it's hard because you have to create your own place.